Welcome to Authority Architects. We have Alexandra Conner, SVP of Marketing at FlexCare, joining us today. Thanks so much for joining us, Alexandra.
Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, so obviously we've known each other for a while now, probably about 6 years. I know we worked together professionally at Blue Shield of California. Then you went on to Walgreens, and now you're at FlexCare. Would love to hear just a little bit about what you're up to now at FlexCare.
Sure. So I know, as you look at my journey, obviously you see some of that on my professional track record online since we worked together. But I think the biggest common thread through my work really has always been transformation grounded in empathy. I've always been drawn to roles that allowed me to take something complex and reframe it to it more simple, more human, more accessible, and ultimately more impactful. So from back in the day when I was at Retail Pro and IX Retail Company, we scaled our brand from 42 to 130 countries. And really the big push on that really was about finding that highly locally nuanced approach for brand. So it wasn't really slapping that same message on everything. It was really about honing the cultural difference while staying very strategically aligned. So everything from Middle Eastern market customization to recognizing the need for French partner first model, that nuance really paved the way for me to become the more strategic architect behind all of the messaging I've been driving in healthcare. So when we started working together originally during my time at Blue Shield of California, that was the first time I got a front row seat to the healthcare industry. And that shift really wasn't an accident, right? I got to see the really dysfunction of our healthcare system as some of my dearest friends were going through some healthcare challenges, caring for themselves and for their dear ones through cancer. And it was really, really crappy, honestly, to see how the patient journey was impacted by choices that marketers actually have a chance to impact through meaningful storytelling. So at Blue Shield, we launched a digital therapeutics platform that focused on disease prevention and chronic care interventions using lifestyle and coaching across all of their lines of business. And that led us to having nice feature in Forbes and Best in Blue Innovation Award. And that led me to standing up the healthcare support system for the new portfolio budding at Walgreens. And then now at FlexCare, when it came into the picture for me, it really felt like a perfect convergence because the company focuses on workforce solutions of offering supports for the healthcare systems and hospitals across the country because obviously the shortage in care teams have been so palpable all the way from before the COVID times. But COVID, I think, really brought it into focus for most people. So really, when I had an opportunity to impact that and really think of the brand at the core of driving the purpose, I jumped on that opportunity. So thinking back to COVID, actually, so back in 22, a statistic that most people probably don't know about is 80% of nurses cited burnout, and many chose to exit the workforce at that time. So just think about that. Here we are in the country that has an increasingly aging population, that has ongoing needs with increased shortages in healthcare staffing in particular. And we have clinicians who are dealing with this vicious cycle of shortages leading to increased workloads, leading to increased burnout, which leads to less staff again, which means more increased workloads, right? So it's year over year. It's a pretty alarming situation. Last year, the data is a little better, but not better enough, especially as we anticipate the demand continuing to grow. So when I look at FlexCare, I really see us at the crux of real opportunity to put a meaningful dent to improve these metrics by better caring for those who care for everybody else.
Wow. My wife works in the administrative office for a home care agency, senior care. And I mean, just hearing, over the dinner table, hearing statistics kind of like what you're referring to, it is pretty, especially the aging population. Like people are living longer and like the resources to care for those people are can be few and far between, and so it is a real problem. So it's really cool to hear about how a firm like yours is addressing some of the aspects of that. And so I'd love to hear, Alexandra, a little bit more about the brand that you're at now and like what specifically they do in that realm.
Sure. So the brand that I am a part of now really focuses on building out the workforce solution supports for connecting the clinicians of all sorts and kinds. So when I say clinicians, I mean registered nurses, I mean imaging professionals, I mean therapists, and ultimately clinicians of all sorts and kinds to hospitals who need them the most or care facilities that need them the most. And when it comes to making that connection possible, you really need to be able to speak meaningfully to all of these audiences and really recognize that architecting that connection very much a design choice more than anything, right? So, especially in healthcare when the stakes are so high. So, it's not just launching a new campaign, it's not just revisiting a messaging, or it's not just launching a new tech. It's really connecting with communities that are in many ways underserved on their terms, meeting them where they are, and tailoring that outreach in the right way. So, to me, it's just such a great reminder that best marketing starts with listening. So then you can design with people and not for people.
I mean, that's so true. I think a lot of companies just push out their messaging and hope people hear it versus actually listening. I think that's something that I think not enough marketers say too. Like,
Well, let's say it more so people can hear it and hopefully start thinking with that in mind. Because at the end of the day, I mean, what is marketing, right? We're here to influence a decision. That's what marketers do at the very nature of our task in this ecosystem, right? And effectiveness of marketers' ability to do that is really dependent on how well you understand the decision makers and how well do you understand the people. Because all of those, yes, we can list all of the different professional titles of everybody we deal with, whether you are a clinician, whether you are a hospital administrator making these staffing decisions, whether you are a hospital CFO trying to figure out what's the best talent mix to really support your patient care outcomes as well, right? And all of them deserve more than vanilla messaging, even though it is my favorite ice cream flavor. They, they need more nuanced approach that really understands the human at the center of that decision in that moment.
yeah. So at a company like FlexCare, what does that exactly look like a tailored marketing approach?
When it comes to the marketing approach, it means when we are launching, whether it be communications messages, whether it be loyalty programs to our clinicians, that means understanding the drivers of their decisions. So today, our clinicians in particular are very much living the healthcare version of the gig economy, right? So if you remember a couple years back, a lot of different folks across the market chose to be 1099 employees or work overseas and try to work for, 6 months out of the year and then travel 6 months of the year. Healthcare has a bit of a version of that, believe it or not. And that's what I would call job crafting. These nurses who don't want to be employed by one hospital and be saddled up with all of the politics and things that are existing in that particular employer's universe. Instead, they choose to be employed by us and then be deployed like highly skilled, compliant SWAT teams to hospitals that are across the country that need them the most. So it's really being able to offer them coaching, offer them support so they can be in charge and in control of their job crafting for themselves and in charge of their career while helping our hospitals get access to the best talent that is highly compliant, highly trained, highly skilled so that when the patient shows up, there is never a staffing shortage that makes them turn away that patient. And then, of course, for the hospitals, it's understanding their pressures and their demands, right? It's the appropriate staffing ratios. It's the ability to understand what drives the patient care outcomes from the clinician workforce side and better at being able to manage those costs. So in our storytelling, we effectively have to account for all of these facets so then we can have a very meaningful exchange. And I do love that word exchange, right? Because at the end of the day, we're constantly honing in what we do, and through everything from SMS to our social to our onboarding kits to all of our quarterly business reviews, right? We make a great effort to always be intentional and always be human and really provide that value. So we can have that exchange of us giving them something, learning from it, and continuously evolving. So that's basically where we are. It's really taking marketing, applying consumer user experience principle to all of the campaign of all of our campaigns, and taking that mindset to not just focus on what we say, but how do people feel when they interact with.
And I remember at Blue Shield, that was something that we were focused on too, right? Like
100%.
it was how do we get people to feel a certain way about this? So it wasn't always just about, hey, this is a great metric or this is that. It's also like, can we attach a feeling to what we're doing? So
I think it's so critical across the board because I think healthcare, even more so than other industries that I worked with and consulted, really focuses surprisingly on, I don't want to call it silly, but I will, silly and transactional product focused things, right? It's the widgets, it's the numbers, it's the whatever. But at the end of the day, I know you've mentioned Blue Shield, right? I still remember that interview we had with a lovely gentleman in the Bay Area who was talking about the things that prevented him from actually originally even seriously considering the intervention plans for his prediabetes because of things like embarrassment and things like realizing he might be socially isolated from his family because of the choices that he makes, right? So we all live with very real, very human fears and concerns, and things that drive our decision are very rarely purely rational, right? So I think as marketers, we really, really need to recognize that. And especially in healthcare, where that is actually at a whole another level of emotional charge.
Yeah, I remember, like, those interviews were so powerful. I remember there was the husband and wife, and the husband was saying, like, "I owe my wife this because like, if I don't intervene, then who knows how much time I have." Like, it's
Johnny and Jennifer from
yeah,
Rancho
man,
Cordova.
those videos were
Whatever. You still remember the name. So do I, by the way.
well, that because man, funny story tangent. I remember when we were working collaboratively to comb through, who would be the best subjects. Let's do some preliminary interviews, all this stuff. I remember we were going to be traveling out there to film, and one of them said, "Oh, I don't really want to do it anymore." And we're like, "We have this shoot day set up. We've got all the." I was like, "You are not allowed to jump out." Like we're
I'm
getting
pretty
on the
sure
phone,
we
like,
called them back and we're like,
No
are you
chicken
sure?
out.
yeah, and it ended up being great. I remember that the Johnny and Jennifer day, I remember was so hot. I
Oh,
remember
Yeah,
it
with
was
like 150
so hot,
degrees.
but, it
Yeah.
was worth it at the end for sure.
exactly, exactly. And you know what? Like, even after that, several years later, when I was at Walgreens, I think back to some of our most powerful and actually best performing campaigns we've had. And it was basically a video series focused on people telling their stories. Uh, and that's the simple, honest, powerful approach truly to really reach people. And I think at FlexCare, we're actually focusing on very much the same approach. It's really not promoting jobs. It's really not focusing on the nuts and bolts, right? It's amplifying personal missions, and they're all different for everybody. So I think really what we've seen is that level of authenticity on our side also leads to trust and loyalty, and that's been at the foundation of the brand strategy build that I've been driving here.
I mean, that's so funny you mentioned authenticity because one, that's something that we say at Seven Wonders all the time is driving the new economy. And I actually gave a talk. I was a part of a panel the other day. And they were asking people in different careers about their careers, and I had said, like, "Whatever you do, you have to be authentic." Like, that's number 1. Like, if you're not authentic to who you are, people will see through that, like, right away, and that's part of the reason why we started doing podcasting and why a lot of our clients do podcasts now too, is, like, there's so much AI slop and all this stuff out there, right? So, like, it's like, how do we get through it? Being authentic, having real conversations, getting to know people. So, um,
Trust through truth, the only way.
exactly,
Mm.
exactly. And it used to look different than it looks now. Like, looks, but like the story's the same.
100%. And it's interesting you mentioned AI because I think AI obviously is here to stay, even though we're still very much at the very infancy of that technology impacting marketing and overall just human operations. But think about how much already it's showing up in how we operate. I know for myself, I use our professional version of ChatGPT here pretty much daily, and it's been a godsend for a lot of data analysis and quickly going through a lot of reports and things like that. However, when it comes to crafting meaningful stories, pure AI usage is a race to the bottom, people. I hope you realize that, right? Because at the end of the day, AI is not today. I mean, maybe down the road in the future, it'll come to a place where it can bring more of an original ideation. But today, it's not. It's really taking and analyzing things and giving you the true meaningful medium, average, like happy, safe middle of the road. But like we know in marketing, right? Your promoters and detractors are people who are going to move the needle the most. People in the middle are stuck in the middle. Like you have no emotional response from that. So I think when it comes to tech, we really need to be mindful of how we use it and how we deploy it. To be clear, my team uses it every day across all of the different sub functions of marketing. And it's a wonderful tool. And we're doing a lot of experiments right now on using AI enhanced experience enhancement as well. However, it is not an answer. It's not a replacement for human interaction. There's a lot of coaching we still need to provide our AI tools to truly be able to do more in a meaningful level for our audiences.
Definitely. 100%.
Um, so what is the vision? So you talked a little bit about FlexCare's approach and the services that you provide and how you tell the story. What is the vision of the brand long term or like kind of on the horizon? And what are you doing to work toward that goal?
I think it's a couple of things. I think nurses in general, and I know I talked a little bit about nurse burnout, right? Which is not something ultimately we can affect 100%, but what we can give them is a little bit more autonomy in decision making and a little bit more control over their career journey, and absolutely more appropriate supports in terms of how we support their journey, right? So we very much take the listen first approach. Over my career, I've ran countless voice of customer programs, and that has shaped everything from campaign tone to product features. And I think here at FlexCare, we're certainly not different. We now have an evergreen clinician advisory board through which we run everything from, but once again, confirmation on analyses and what we're seeing in terms of trends, validating ideas. And there's some great aha moments that are coming from that. So, for example, I know I talked briefly about job crafting. So it's really starting to expand on that and include a lot more effectively future product development, taking that into consideration. So we've also very meaningfully chose to stop producing almost 90% of our sales support material because once we analyzed the usage, we realized like there's really no reason for it. So that saved a lot of money and freed up both human capital and financial resources to double down on what actually works. So when I look at FlexCare evolving in the near term, it's really continuing to very heavily invest in product with the brand at the helm of the direction where this is going so that our support ecosystem for our clinicians is continuing to expand. And it's also really expanding what I would call like the flexible playbooks, if you will, setting the clear guardrails for how we can grow consistency of our engagement and really what I would call, I guess, contextual empathy, right? So, how do we take our core story, our core brand mission, and our purpose, and really build a distributed marketing enablement model for all that? So, that's really what we are focusing on right now and leading teams and driving change through that.
That's awesome. And I'm gonna have to hop in 2 minutes. So Michael, do you want to ask like a wrap up question
That's
or
exactly what I was
okay.
gonna ask. Okay,
So
perfect. Alexandra, I know we're almost getting to time here, but really quick, for those people looking to jump into healthcare or staffing for the first time, and specifically as related to marketing, what's one thing you wish someone had told you early on?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, first of all, I think if you're looking to jump into healthcare, I think it is extremely worthy cause and it does need more passionate marketers. So if you are thinking about it, you are already on the right track because you wouldn't look at that industry and you go here because of the greatest innovation. You come here because you have a really strong desire to be part of something very mission driven. So do it. And I think when I think about what I wish I knew, I wish someone told me how truly emotionally charged the work really is. You're not just marketing a product. You're walking into someone's life, into someone's career, into someone's care plan, into someone's most vulnerable moments. So I think my advice to you would be lead with curiosity, listen very deeply, and focus on building trust. If you do that, you'll never lose. And you'll never lose your relevance. You'll always be connected to the moment, and you will never compromise your soul.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. That's great advice, Alexandra. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. Always a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Alexandra. Bye.
Talk soon.